Hey there, Sam Ashers, and welcome to the Spotlight. I'm your host, Dave Stutts, and we're coming at you right here from Sam Ash NYC on 34th Street in New York City. We have the pleasure to be here with Brendon Small, who's a man with many hats, writer, producer, stand-up comedian, guitar player, and just all-around good guy. Brendon, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. How's your day going?
My day's going well. I've been, these days are fun. I'm doing a lot of fun things with guitars, so it's been a lot of guitar-heavy stuff, and I'm pretty happy behind the guitar.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's where you're finding your joy these days?
Well, I always have since I was a wee lad. I've found safety behind the guitar. I think we all do.
Nice.
But it's been a lot of. I just finished a guitar camp that I did up in Woodstock. Right.
Awesome.
Once a year, I'll work with kids and do band camp stuff. I've done it with Scott Ian before from Anthrax, and we'll go work with kids and kind of do our own like School of Rock thing, and. It's really fun. This year I decided to do an all-ages guitar camp, which is it's basically what I think is important about guitar. What has gotten me through a guitar, like a recording session, writing with guitar, arranging with guitar, fretboard knowledge, my modal knowledge, all the stuff that I keep coming back to, and the patterns that I notice that I find that are important, I think.
Right.
So I had to do like a lot of quid pro quo. Like I'll teach them sweep arpeggios, but then I'll have to teach them why it's a sweep arpeggio and how do you actually use this in music. So I would do cool licks, and then I will teach them the hardcore theory. So I'm trying to cram a lot of Berklee College of Music, which is where I went to school, into 5 days. I'm trying to cram like a semester into 5 days, and it worked. These guys didn't understand modal harmony until the last day. I could see all the lights were turned on in the room, and it was really fun. Yeah,
that's gotta be a life-changing event for a kid to be able to go to this camp and get such professional, collegiate-level education.
Well, they took it seriously. Yeah, they took it seriously. Some people are frightened of theory, but if you want to be a composer, if you want to write music, often you kind of have to have a bag of tricks, and you have to make sure that you're never painted into a corner. There's always like some kind of way out. Right. And chordal theory, modal theory. All that stuff does help you. It helps you if you're a writer, and that's what they kind of came there because they want to learn how to write music, but they also want to learn how to shred. So you have to do all the boring scales, make sure you're doing it right, make sure your pick's in the right direction for every, breaking it down to like the Matrix bullet time and just stopping and going, okay, this, upstroke, downstroke, slowing it down like that. So
and now that one measure is complete, we'll move to measure two.
Exactly. Go slow, work hard, think hard for like 15 minutes. And then start going into muscle memory mode.
Did you notice a huge improvement from day one till the end of the week?
I did. It was interesting. They started thinking melodically instead of just pattern-wise.
Right.
And so I would do these things. I would do like almost like Lars von Trier, Dogma 95 filmmaking, where you have all these in-camera restrictions, natural lighting, only use in-camera editing, stuff like that. But I did that with guitar scales, right? You only get to pick 4 notes.
Sure.
You can't use your pick.
Oh, wow.
To throw your pick away, and you have to just limitations. How do you make that sound good?
To write or to improvise?
To improvise. And I mean, writing is very slow improvising.
Sure.
So it's all think of it all the same thing. The more you kind of like stop kind of compartmentalizing, then you start opening up some avenues. And also, the other thing that was an important thing is most of us are guitar players, and we'll hit these ruts. Like we'll get good and then we'll plateau for a long time. So we will do that. So the idea is, how do you break out of those ruts? How do you open up the whole fretboard? How do you turn 4 notes into just a whole group of notes, and where the cool tensions are, where the cool notes are, bending to cool notes and all that stuff, and using your ears. That's what the advantage of guitar players is that we use our ears more than anybody else because we can't read. Like, how in high school when the person graduates without reading, I don't know how I got there, but I graduated.
Somehow
that's how all of it. That's how you are. That's how I am. If I throw a chart in front of you, the old joke is, how do you make a guitar player turn down? You throw a lead sheet in front of them, and they go, oh yeah. And eventually they leave the room.
It's very true. It's so true.
So that's what I did last week. So lots of guitar
That's great. Well, that sounds amazing.
This week I'm here to promote the Galaktikon II record, and so I'm bouncing around New York. And
coming out August 25th.
August 25th, available now for pre-order at Galaktikon.com. But it's the sequel to the first Galaktikon, but it's got a lot of different sounds in it. It's got lots of guitar. I actually used this guitar, which is my signature series.
Yeah, we have a couple of these that we pulled out for him. These are awesome.
these things turn out really well. And in fact, I'm just picking this one up, which I'm sure, first of all, it's in tune, which is good.
You know what?
Yeah.
I tuned it for you.
Oh, you did a great job.
Thank you.
But these things play well right out of the box, and there are a lot of different sounds you can get out of them. So when I'm recording guitar, I like to be able to just keep the same guitar in my lap and see how many sounds I can squeeze out of them. So I have this push-pull pot, which turns both of these into coil taps. They're coil tapping, but you can
take your humbuckers, turn them into single coils.
Exactly. You can get more of like a
Strat-like kind of tones.
Yeah, you can get like your neck pickup.
Right.
And then sometimes you go in the middle and it sounds really great clean. You can get like some kind of, you can go to the bridge pickup and get like more of a twangy kind of telly sound.
Right.
So there's that. And there's a kill switch. You can see
the kill switch is tons of fun.
It's tons of fun. You can sound like the Who kind of. You can do all that kind of stuff.
You know what my favorite part of the Brendon Small Snow Falcon is?
What's that?
Because so many people put out, I want a signature guitar, I want to have a signature guitar, and they end up being priced so astronomically that nobody buys them, nobody wants them. If you saw this hanging on a wall and didn't know it was a Brendon Small, and you saw the price and you saw the quality and you saw all the features it had, you would just want it, not even knowing it was your guitar.
You want a cool looking guitar, and why drag my name into it? You should just want a cool guitar and my backstory and all the problems I've had with the law and everything. But you should just want a guitar because it's cool looking, and that's what I wanted. I mean, you want to create something that hopefully there's just a demand for, just because it looks cool, and this thing is an eye catcher, and it just turned out really cool. Yeah, it's fun to play. Look, we even stopped talking for a while.
I know,
but yeah,
so, I mean, a lot of people know that you write. You're a comedian and all that stuff, and not a lot of people, maybe not as many people know that you've actually designed some guitars. This is just one. How many guitars have you designed at this point?
Well, this is it started out with a Gibson version of this, and so the Epiphone, but every time we'll put out a Gibson guitar first, and then I'll take the opportunity to, I've road tested it for a long time, and I think of what would I like to do differently, and sometimes not very much. I really like these I love these classic Burstbucker pickups because they sound like PAFs from like the 1960s or the 70s or something like that. But you can also make them modern high gain metal. Even though they're a medium output, you can make these sound like modern.
Right, so you get that
guitars.
Classic PAF growl and bite to your tone if you want it.
Exactly.
Or you can cool it off if you need to.
So you can do a lot of control.
You get American Gibson pickups in an Epiphone.
Exactly. So I love these, and they match the whole idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a guitar before this. Speaking of other Gibson guitars, I did the Thunder Horse, which is a silver burst Explorer with binding, and it looks cool and everything. And I wanted to have that guitar because I saw a picture of an old 1981 Tobacco Burst E2 guitar, which is, if you can find them on eBay, grab one because they're really cool. I have one too. It's got a big baseball bat neck and it's really cool pickups and everything. It sounds great. But I saw a black and white photo of it, and I thought, that guitar's not on the market. I know I would buy that guitar, and I know there are a lot of people that are like me. It's a flashy, cool guitar. It's the cool Explorer shape, which we don't have behind us, but that cool, just weird, warped, strange, badass, pointy thing. And I love the way they sound. There's a lot of wood there. They resonate really well. And that, with these medium output pickups, you can really hear your fingers on the strings, and that's all I want to hear, even through the gallons of distortion that I play through. I want a little bit of personal contact.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we have that one. We have the Thunder Horse.
The Epiphone and the Gibson, but I don't think you can. I think they're all out of stock. I think we sold them all. If you can get one of those, hold on to it. Yeah.
And Thunder Horse was a cool guitar anyway. And if you didn't know any better, it's still rad. But wasn't that one sort of like a little bit of an inside joke for the fans? Yeah.
Well, it was what I started doing through Metalocalypse, which is the show that I'm kind of known for, that and home movies. But I started through animation. I started going like, what if we change the color of that? What if we change the fretboard? What if we did this? And I kind of use it as a place to kind of start experimenting. And the audience started reacting, and then I would talk to Gibson guitars, and I'd say, well, what about doing something like this? And they were like, that makes sense to us. And so we started doing it. Again, we sold out of everything. And yeah, it was really cool.
So it's got to be huge to have a relationship like that with Gibson, where you can kind of call up, say, I have an idea. Is it something you would want to go for? And they're just totally willing to do it.
That is not lost on me. It makes no sense that a cartoon maker, comedian gets to design guitars. But At the same time, I feel like I'm kind of the audience for classic Gibson stuff, so
Right.
I want to mess around with them, but not too much, you know. So I'm even
Right.
working on some other prototypes right now
Mm-hmm.
that I even have here that I can even show you if you want to see. I don't know,
Sure.
it's up to you,
Yeah, you
but
want me to hold this
it's
guy
not
and
even
go over here?
available yet. I can
Is
show
that
here.
something we can do?
Yeah, I
If
can.
you're willing, sure.
I could do whatever I want.
There
What are
you
you
go.
gonna do? Call the cops? Come on. Here we go. So here's another
Look
thing.
at that.
So what I do is when I'm messing around with the guitar idea, I will put it through its paces. I'll record with it. I'll take it on the road. This has been the guitar that I've been teaching with for the last week, and this is like a charcoal blackburst Explorer from Gibson USA, and it's got a reverse headstock, which is something you don't always see.
That's really cool.
That just looks cool. It doesn't do anything other than
Yeah,
look cool.
yeah, yeah.
In fact, it may be a little bit more difficult to reach your
Right,
tuners.
yeah.
But once you get used to it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I have one of these adjustable zero frets, which is titanium.
cool.
They're cool because you
Yeah.
can, if you want to get like into like some crazy, just low action, just cutting butter with a hot knife kind of guitar playing. Just
Yeah.
I consider this like the sports car version of the Explorer that I have, which I already love. But I have all these pickups, so I have different things going on. These are all push-pull pots. One of them is a coil tapper. One of them is kind of a traditional actual pickup splitter. And then I have a piezo pickup, which is
Oh, wow.
in the
That's
bridge,
cool.
so I can roll that on and off or blend it in on clean channels. I have...
So you can get rock and roll tones, you can get bluesy tones, you can get
Yeah.
acoustic-y kind of tones.
I want to be able
It's
to
a
play
Swiss Army
anything
knife.
from the 70s to...
Right.
I want to be able to play Steely Dan on this, and I want to be able to play Metallica on
There you
this,
go.
you know? So I want to be able to play everything. I have more of this beveled neck joint kind of thing right here,
Oh,
too.
nice.
So, again, like for fatso finger guys like me.
It almost seems like a neck-through design, even though it's like a set neck.
Yeah,
That's
it is
really
a set, yeah.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
it really worked out great, and I have
cool.
so that's pretty much the idea. So it's just a little bit faster. If you want to play it,
Oh, sure.
you'll see that it's just and it's
I'll play
I'm
a
tuned down
prototype
way
guitar.
low, so I use way heavy strings on that stuff too.
That's okay.
So it's just a fun thing. Oh yeah, that's
That's a cool pick you got right
a
there.
cool pick. This is
There you go.
this is a comedy show that I do live in Los Angeles called Baked with Steve Agee, who you may recognize from the Sarah Silverman program. Very funny guy, also a musician.
Yeah, it's really comfortable. I love it. What's the tuning? Are we at?
I'm at C standard, so that's
Okay.
like the Galaktikon II album is mostly C standard. The old Death Clock stuff is all C standard. So you take your guitar, E standard, down a major third. So look, you can't stop playing it.
There's nothing like a big wide open string tuned down to something really low, a big open chord like that.
Yeah.
It's unlike anything. If you plug it in and really just strum that, it's amazing. No, this is great. It's comfortable all the way up the neck.
Yeah, it plays really, really well. So they really nailed it on this one. So
Can we look forward to this one, or we don't know?
we don't know yet. So what I'm doing right now is creating a demand, and I've done it with other guitars too, and it seems to have
I love
worked.
it.
Yeah.
It's great. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's cool. I got one in white called the Snow Horse, which has also been talked about a lot on my
Okay.
Instagram page and stuff.
Snow Falcon, Thunder Horse,
Snow Horse, yeah.
There you go.
This is the Night Horse, is what it's called.
Nice.
yeah.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah,
You
sounds
sound good on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Hi.
It's awesome.
How you doing? Were you getting bored? Falling asleep on me? Okay, yeah. No, you're having fun. You're having
No,
fun
everybody's
time.
excited.
Everyone's excited. Yeah, so I use this on. I use both of these guitars. I used this on a song from the new record, the Snow Falcon. I used this on a song called Nightmare, and I did some really cool stuff. I'll give you this to hold on to.
Thanks
you
for
very
that.
much. Yes,
That's great.
Thank you, Paul. But I used this on a song called Nightmare, where I did this really fun contrapuntal stacked harmony Brian May kind of a thing, which I do often. But this one I really did it. And I kind of cocked a wall back and got a cool oboe kind of a sound out of
Whoa,
this thing. And it sounds
that's
really
cool.
interesting, like clarinet oboe, kind of, just little nasally sounding, but
Right.
really cool.
So go out and buy your Harvard Dictionary of Music and look
Yeah.
up contrapuntal, and we'll.
Yeah, so it means
We'll get what he's
question
talking
answer,
about.
but I'm
Right,
like
exactly.
stereo panned
Right.
stuff that's that is used in classical
Sure.
harmony.
No,
often.
absolutely.
And this whole song, Nightmare, is a really slowed down ripoff of a Bach invention, like the two-handed piano
there you go.
inventions. So I slowed it down. I played the main riff on an 8-string, so I'm in like super low, like another octave lower F sharp on this thing. And I used this for the whole instrumental section where I harmonized stuff, and I did these lines that I didn't want to use any pick attack on, so I would just go da 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 da, and I had to do them all in one string each.
Oh wow!
And it was really tricky to land all that stuff, but it has a really smooth, you know, kind of woodwind sound to it, which is really cool. Anyway, so check that out, Nightmare. You can get that as a if you buy the record now, you can hear that song right now. So
I mean, speaking of the record, I was going to bring it up a little later, but where's it going to be available? Can we download it on iTunes later? Is it going to be on Spotify?
You can find all the ways
in
to do
stores
it on Galaktikon.com.
Okay,
we'll show you
just
all
head
the
there.
ways. If you want to, it'll show you the Amazon route. It'll show the iTunes route. If you want to get the physical right now, we have a really cool, super special edition vinyl with all these picture discs and cool stuff.
That's cool.
Not only that, there's a comic book that you can get now too.
Okay.
So there's a Galaktikon comic book that I did with Eric Powell from The Goon, which is a really it's a really great comic book.
Let's take a look.
Here it is. Oh, here we go. Here's the record and the.
So if you guys aren't plugged in, it's time to get plugged in. I mean, we've got comics, records, music,
new guitars, all this stuff. I'm selling a lot of stuff right now. But and there's the back of it. This is like an actual.
I'll hold this guy for you.
This is an actual helmet that my brother, who works in makeup effects, built. This is a wearable helmet.
That's awesome.
It's insane. It's somewhere between like a Phantom of the Paradise and Ultraman. But this is like our lead character guy. You kind of see a version of him on the cover too, and this kind of Zardoz floating head kind of vibe here. I don't know if
Become the Storm.
Yes, Become the Storm. And you can see that inside of this album, there are a bunch of drawings from our test drawings from the comic book inside of here too.
That's cool. Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really neat. So you can see that
total comic panels.
Exactly. So it's just, you know, I don't think you can just put out a record anymore. You got to put out a whole universe.
Right.
And that's been really fun to take all my story chops from TV, throw it into this, which is a huge kind of dark concept album.
Yeah.
And then the first Galaktikon, that's the story for the first Galaktikon. It's an intergalactic divorce story, believe it or not.
Wow.
And it's a comedy.
Tragic.
Yeah. But it's it's tragic. He's got to get over it. How's he going to do it? So there's a lot of fun stuff. I like telling stories. I like playing guitar and all that stuff. So there you go.
Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of fun stuff. You can get that at your local comic shops right now. In fact, I'll be at Forbidden Planet signing that, and you won't be able to go there because this will have come out way later.
I don't know, we'll get it out as soon as possible, but yeah, I don't know, it's a little tight.
We can cut this out.
Here's what we'll say. You were at Forbidden Planet.
That's right, I was doing a signing in New York while I was here too.
How did that go?
Didn't go well, I got in a couple fights.
Yikes.
I'm planning
Hopefully not with
now
them.
I gotta really do it.
Nice. You know, to that end, now you have to live up to the reputation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're showing us guitars, you're showing us comic books, we've talked about, you know, Metalocalypse and things like that. You're known for wearing so many hats in this industry that, you know, a lot of people see you as a musician, as a writer, as this sort of stuff, but I also tend to see you, the more that I look at your storied career, as something of a thought leader in our industry because, you know, some would say it's the day of the entrepreneur, the people who don't see something that they quite fit into, so they pave their own way. Right. So I'm really curious to hear your thought. I mean, do you see yourself as that thought-leading entrepreneur, pave your own way? Have you ever had anyone ask you to like come speak to that effect or something like that? I mean, what do you think?
Well, here's what I know, and I think this will probably answer your question. Nobody gives me a job. I have to create it. Right. So, like, if I want to, like, people ask me, how do you get into voiceover? How do you do that? And I go, I don't know, create a TV show and cast yourself in it. Yeah. So I think about that. Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I'm like, occasionally a friend will cast me in something, but or I'll do auditions every once in a while. But I figured the job that I'm going to have is the coolest job I'm going to have is going to be the job that I create for myself, and I use the best parts of, hopefully, the best parts of my creativity. So I like doing all kinds of different stuff. And I see it all as the same thing, kind of, from guitar playing to writing a script to understanding acting to doing live action stuff to all that stuff. To me, is the same creativity, and you're using the same kind of methodology from getting a guitar line sounding right to getting your acting up, or fixing a script, or whatever it is. I see it all as not compartmentalized, but one big way of being creative. And if I can, and audio and visual stuff come together so nicely in in even like an evocative album cover. There's like a darkness, there's a thing happening, it's in outer space. So I even think about how I react when I see an album cover, how I even like think about the colors and all that stuff, and how that influences how I listen to the music. Like even Joe Satriani, I was thinking about him and Flying in a Blue Dream. I see the color blue when he's when I hear that record. So I don't know if I'm answering anything at this point other than talking. I've gone onto another subject.
Well, it's just whether you see yourself as a thought leader, as
I don't know. Yeah, I think
a man who paved your own way in the industry kind of thing.
Yeah. My parents didn't do anything for me. I'll tell you that.
Right.
So luckily, but it all came through.
Hi, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, it all came. They know. No, it all came from. I went to music school.
Right.
And while I was at music school, I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and I think it's a great school, and I learned a lot there. But while I was there, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this guitar. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these music writing chops and all this composition and arranging chops. But I know I'm being drawn to comedy, and I know my brain keeps dragging my body to stand-up shows and stuff. And my last summer before my last year, I actually lived here in New York, and I interned at jingle houses. So I had 2 different internships. One right around here, not too far from Penn Station, with a guy who did the Kit Kat theme song, the "Give Me a Break" thing.
Oh, sure, okay.
So I would get him coffee, and wind up cables, and watch him work. And it was really enlightening.
What a cool job.
It was really cool because their whole job was to write music quickly. So they had to have a bag of tricks, some favorite chords, some different arrangements, some ways of doing things, of how to punch in quickly, how to have everything already set up.
Right.
And that actually served me later on. I worked at another house on Lexington where I had 6 writers. And it was really cool to see all these different people working in different ways and bringing in string quartets and doing all this arranging and stuff. And then while I was doing that, my roommate was working, he was interning at Conan O'Brien.
Wow,
And
cool.
something happened where I found myself going like, okay, we're on the cable, the coffee's made for tomorrow. Can I get out of here? Can I get out of here? Because I want to go meet him at 30 Rock and go like just kind of like peer around the corner and see, you know, what it's like to, what these guys are doing, making people laugh all the time. I found that I was taking all my energy for guitar, all the scale practice, and putting it into becoming a writer. So when I got back to music school, I decided to start taking writing classes at Emerson College. So I would have like a spec script by the end, where you write like a script of a TV show that already exists to prove that you can write it. You can compose a story, you can write in character, you can write jokes, and it's just like the big trifecta of what makes a good writer. And then apply your own personal story to that, just a little bit. And that's what really makes a good writer, I think. So I started doing that, and that got me on stage, doing stand-up. And I realized stand-up is like, I don't need a band or a drummer. No one's going to show up late. It's just me.
Right.
And you're kind of an actor, a writer, and the executive producer of yourself. And I just saw a clear path into what I wanted to do for a living through comedy. And I saw like people are looking, not everyone is looking for another guitar player, sadly. They should be. I love guitar. I'm looking for new guitar players all the time. But everyone is looking for a new personality to make them laugh. And I thought if I can maintain what I think is funny, what my own personal ethos of comedy is, and find a way to do that on stage, I think I'll find a way into this business. And it happened very quickly. And I started doing movies when I was 23.
Right.
So yeah, so it's been a nice, you know, like almost 20-year career. And that's how I got in. So I thought, and then the other trick is that nobody in comedy knew how to play one of these. So, I'd pull a guitar and they'd go, hey, how did you learn how to do that? That's cheating, you can't do that. And I was like, yeah, I can. And so, anyway.
So Steve Martin had the banjo, but you had the metal guitar.
I had the metal guitar, or whatever
amazing.
the style was that I was playing at the time. And,
so it seemed like just every part of your life was reinforcing the next part, whether you knew it or not, whether you realized it. All of your musical training sort of gave you the discipline to learn comedy, working, you know, for the guy who wrote the Kit Kat jingle, kind of taught efficiency and
well, it taught me like, hey, write a song, you got 5 minutes, you have 5 minutes, come back here and better get good.
Right.
Yeah.
So, good,
and I better get stuck in my head to advertise the product. Yeah. So all that stuff.
And that's when you said, dude, give me a break.
Give me a break.
Break me off a piece of that. Can we say that?
I
shouldn't be asking you. I should have that answer.
You should know if you can give free advertisement to candy bars.
I'm sorry. I think what we really want is for them to advertise for us.
Yeah, we want them to advertise for you.
Yeah. So we'll see about that.
Me too. We'll call Kit Kat afterwards.
Right.
We'll figure it out.
So Brendon, let me ask you, and, you know, we've been talking about your career and how everything reinforces the next thing. Is writing music similar to writing comedy or writing for television?
I mean, you know what? Lately it is, because I've been putting out these kind of story-driven records. I put out a thing called the Doomstar record, which is an hour-long rock opera.
Sounds cool.
Yeah, I did that. That was the last thing I did with Metalocalypse. It was an hour-long rock opera. I got a 50-piece orchestra to play with me.
Wow.
And I worked with Bear McCreary, who helped with that. He does the music for The Walking Dead, and he's very comfortable behind an orchestra.
Nice.
And so I do think from, you know, I especially in the new record, I knew I had a story I wanted to tell, and I had, you know, kind of a 3-act structure, you know, and I knew that this song has to be the first song on the record has to be kind of what status quo is. How do you establish the world that you're in? What is happening in this world? What is normal? And then what is abnormal later on? What is the mood of the main character? How does he feel right now? How is that going to change? Where is he going to move? So I think about that stuff, and then I just think about, like, what is the mood? How does that sound to you? Is the mood a good mood or is it a bad mood? If it's a bad mood, it better sound pretty evil and pretty dark and like hopeless. And that's how I start the record. It's evil and fast and hopeless and scary, and like meteorites are crashing and just destroying things. So that's where the whole thing starts, and we have to kind of figure out our way through that. So I do think like a writer. But musically, you know, all you have at the end of the day are your heroes, and they're kind of these beacons of what you love about music. So I think about, what would these guys do? What would those guys do? What would my classic rock heroes do? What would Duran Duran do in one of these moments? What would Billy Joel do? What would Cannibal Corpse do? What would Metallica do? What would Paul Simon do? You start asking yourself questions, then you start coming up with all these different things. And I keep thinking, if you've got good taste and good heroes, you're probably gonna write some good music. You may have to have a sense of melody, though. It's like a sense of humor. I don't know if everyone has one.
Right.
You know?
Sure.
You may just be like, you're really happy with boring melodies that go nowhere, or you may have something that's iconic or it stays with you forever.
You know, it's great that you mentioned that, because you said if you have good taste in music, you'll probably write great songs. And, you know, that kind of reinforces something I was thinking about when we were asking you about paving your own way, is, you know, you were talking about having these ideas, and I think that might be what separates the entrepreneurs who make it and those who don't, is just, you know, how good are the ideas, kind of a thing.
Yeah, are they worthwhile? Are they worth like pulling your car over and taking a look at? So that's what I wonder. And I wonder that even like when I hear any kind of music, nowadays we're in a position where we watch stuff on computer, or we listen on computers, so your eyes kind of gravitate to the timeline of the song. And that's going to happen no matter what. Like, how much of this do we have to either look forward to or to be bored by, you know?
Yeah.
So, so I'm hopefully going like, all right, I'm going to put you through a maze, and I'm going to build off of it, and it's going to keep building it, and you're going to get to a point in the song you couldn't have gotten to unless you took this journey. So that's what I'm asking myself. Is it worth making it through the end of this music, you know? And then I also have to, you can't second guess anything else. You have to write music that you want to hear, you know? I have to say to myself, I don't hear people putting these influences inside of music right now. I'd like to be the guy that does it. I'd like to do something that sounds a little different, but still sounds like me. Yeah.
Exactly. So speaking of that process, I'm curious, I want to ask you, Edgar Wright was actually in the city about a month or so ago at just an AMC theater after a screening of Baby Driver. He came out and did a small Q&A. And one of the things that he said that he did was he would look at a script and guess, okay, that's about 2.5 minutes long. And then he would go to iTunes and he would sort by duration and find a song that was 2.5 minutes long.
Oh, interesting.
And he would listen to it and reinforce that. So I'm curious, do any of your one mediums, like comedy, television, music, do any of them reinforce the next one? Do you ever use, like, do you listen to music when you write? Do you write music? I guess you wouldn't really write music while having like television playing in the background, but do you listen to music while you write, that sort of thing?
I have done it. Sometimes it distracts me too much because I start just really listening to music and trying to figure out what's going on. But I have done things where I put on film score stuff. Like Alex North is a really evocative, interesting, tumultuous film composer who did like so much stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. He did one of my favorite scores, which is the movie Dragon Slayer from like 1981 or 82, I think. And it's a really cool, just atonal score, but it's really, really just puts you in, and it puts you in this movie. It puts you in a different world.
Right.
So I have done that, but I understand his movie is also totally music driven too. So he needs to kind of time that stuff out.
Absolutely.
And he has so much tempo in his movie. So
Yeah,
from cut to cut, from when this thing happens to that, it's all happening to a tempo, which is fun, you know.
Well, he's always kind of been known for
but even especially because it is music and it almost is a dance. So when he closes that door, it has to happen on the downbeat of something, you know.
Yeah.
And he has to go and put his coffee down over here at this time.
Yeah.
That person walks through, he'll walk through two people at a certain. It's all beat driven stuff. So but that's important. Having a sense of rhythm as a filmmaker or an editor, that's everything.
Right.
You've got to have a sense of rhythm.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but
no, you totally did.
Yeah.
That was great. Now, speaking of guitar, we've talked about guitars a lot today. We've kind of looked at all these beautiful things. Are there any modern guitar players that inspire you? Because we could sit here and talk about Eddie Van Halen and all these guys, but are there any modern players who really get the juices going for you?
Yeah, I love all the old players. I'm a kind of as long as someone's doing something interesting on guitar, I'm there. I don't care what the genre is. Derek Trucks is insanely amazing to me. I can't believe that guy. He found his own thing. It's so hard to do that. It's so hard to have a voice on guitar, but he really found his own voice in a way that's just that is emotionally moving. I think that's insane. I think that when I watch him play, like if you watch him on YouTube or you buy his records, his improvisation is just some of the most interesting guitar playing I've ever heard. And I don't even know if he's 40 yet. He's amazing. But I also, I'm a nerd. I'll go into YouTube. I'll buy lessons still.
Nice.
I'm trying to expand my vocabulary all the time. So I get into the Tom Quayle, who plays some of these guitars here.
Right.
But I'll buy his lessons, and I notice an improvement in my playing. I notice that I can kind of expand on my melodic ideas.
Right.
And my fretboard knowledge will just get better. There's always something to work on with guitar. You're never going to get sick of it as long as you keep trying to find a good teacher. And some of these guys are good teachers. So Tom Quayle, who is just kind of a fusion super shredder kind of a guy. Guthrie Govan he plays with Brian Beller, who is the bass player on Death Clock and Galaktikon. I always have a soft spot in my heart for all the guys who got me playing in the first place. Eddie Van Halen, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Steve Morse, John Petrucci, all those guys. You know, everybody that's Jeff Beck, I love like crazy. And then I'll get into like Larry Carlton and Steely Dan stuff. I get way into that. I just saw him play. I mean, I'm a music nerd, you know?
There you go.
I'm a guitar geek. So anyone doing something that catches my ear, I'm on board.
You know, I love to hear you say, too, that you'll still buy a lesson, because I think that is such a good model for success training, because, you know, so many people might get caught up in this thing where it's like, no, I have a degree in music. I already know this. I don't need, that's not for me, man. You know what I mean? And I think that separates the successful mindset versus the unsuccessful mindset, that there's always something to learn. There's always people that can teach you stuff.
It's true. And guitar's a strange thing because, you know, even the experts don't think they're experts, which is great, you know?
Right.
They're like, I just do what I do. I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm only an expert at what I like. And that's kind of what you have to realize about yourself. So even teaching that guitar camp, I'm not trying to teach them what I think someone else cares about guitar. I only want to show them what I think is important, and that's how I go. This is the stuff that got me through a lot of, got me out of like a lot of screwy situations. I had a bag of tricks. I had chords. I have these certain things. I like these certain inversions. I use them all the time.
Sure.
I'm going to show you how to do it if you want to learn how to do it. It's really cool. So, yeah, I don't know.
To that end, I mean, I saw an interview with Eddie Van Halen one time, and he said, "Look, I didn't invent tapping. I was never the first guy to do it. You know, I just kind of did it my way," and then he got huge for it. A lot of people think he invented tapping.
Yeah. He certainly perfected it.
Right. Yeah.
And then there are people that are doing things like, you know, that, where, you know, four-finger style crazy stuff, and that, you know. Right.
Yeah. So I mean,
guitar's cool, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I mean, you're here at Ash. I mean, you got to imagine we love gear. We've been talking about gear all day.
Yeah.
To that end, I mean, we've spoken a lot about guitars, but you know, for those at home who are curious, which a lot of our community is, can you tell us a little bit about like your recording setup, what kind of equipment you're using?
Yeah.
Where do you record?
I record. I have my own home studio. So. So what I did was I built an amp closet, and it's also a voiceover room if I want to just go and fix the line or do whatever I need to do, or a vocal booth. But mainly it's where I have a 4x12, always mic'd. Always like a 57 and a 420. Is that a 421? The Sennheiser, I forget the numbers, but you get the idea. And I have that going through, whatever head I want to use at the time. But for this recent record, I used the Satriani Marshall head, and I used the clean channel, and I used a lot of pedals. Yeah, those are great. Those are great amps. Marshalls have never done me wrong. They're always great. But I also have a Friedman Dirty Shirley, like a 20-watt lunchbox head.
Nice.
Sounds like the Who and classic rock and all, and you put pedals in front of it, and it sounds fantastic. I have a really great Wagner Shiva with the EL34s. Yeah, it sounds really cool. I mean,
that's an eclectic mix of tone right there.
Yeah, well, it depends what you're looking for.
Right.
But usually I'll try to keep one amp set up, and I'll try to make a record. You want a record to sound consistent,
Right.
So I messed around with the EVH 5150 pedal, just the distortion one, the one you can get here or anywhere.
Right.
And that was my main rhythm distortion sound. I liked the compression and the attack. I could still hear my guitar through it. It wasn't just distortion and just nasally pickups. It was transparent enough where I could still hear my fingers on the strings.
Right.
And I used that consistently. And then I went crazy over this other JHS pedal, the Andy Timmons one.
Okay.
And Andy Timmons has such a great sound, and somehow they managed to put it in a pedal, and it sounds like some kind of a modded Marshall with a really great mid, like you can fatten up your mids. I like a fatter mid sound. I don't like the scoop like the traditional old school metal. I like to put mids back in. Because it gives
kind of funny how pedals usually come down to mids. A lot of people like to talk about that.
It really is, but you have to get like the right amount of mid that you're dialing in. So sometimes they zero in, and it doesn't seem like there's a bad place on the dial on the JHS pedal. So
all of these tones are good. I just don't know which one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
then
great.
I also used the Line 6 Helix for
great.
I got some really cool badass sounds out of it. Some really cool I'll plug it in stereo, and I'll get these cool clean warbly sounds just to make a track more exciting.
Right.
I got some sounds where I got these cool square wave fuzzy sounds, and then I put that in, then I put the Boss Slicer pedal, which not everyone has, but it really you can hard pan, hard left, right. You can sound like a Michael Mann movie or something. So you get that kind of an idea. And I used that on a song and did a lot of really cool stuff just with the Helix by itself. And so that was a really fun. It's a really fun tool for overdubs, just to kind of get some different things happening.
Nice.
So yeah, I use that.
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, you sound like a gear guy.
I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, do you get into the shops a lot and just look at new gear, see what's out, and say, I have to have it?
I do. I will check out stuff in stores. I'm also a guy who checks out these kinds of videos, and the demo videos and all that stuff. So I nerd out on that stuff. I'll contact my guitar nerd friends and go, wait a minute, have you seen this thing? Oh, yeah, I saw it already. It's pretty cool. And we'll do like that kind of thing. So my friend will go, you gotta get this. And so my guitar buddy, who I've known since I was a kid, we'll have 3-hour conversations about gear. So
that's great.
I love it. I mean, that's the cool thing. I remember being a kid. I remember being a really young kid and playing with toys, like action figures, like Star Wars or whatever it was. I remember holding these toys and thinking, like being an 8-year-old and going at some point, I won't be able to do this anymore. And it was a profound thought. It was just like a poetic moment where I thought, I can't keep playing this stuff. I've got to become a guy at an office doing horribly boring stuff.
Right.
That's gonna happen at some point.
Yeah.
But the truth is, I fought it with every single inch of every single fiber inside of me. Right. And the truth is, I found guitars. And this is the gift that keeps on giving. If you're looking for tone, if you're looking for inspiration, whatever it is, even changing the strings on an old guitar, it just makes it feel like you got a brand new guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Or I have a guitar that's been in a case, and I go, I'm gonna swap these two out. Oh, and it just feels like I just got a new guitar.
Right.
And so I get excited by that stuff, and it's our job as creative people to be inspired.
Right.
So you've got to surround yourself with inspiring things.
Absolutely.
So if you want to deliver songs, the scripts, comedy, I've got to be around things that make me want to do that stuff. So it may mean going to a movie in the middle of the day and going I'm going to go. Right. If this movie sucks, I'll learn what not to do. If it's great, I'll try to take some notes.
Right.
So I do that kind of stuff all the time. Gear is. The first thing I did when I finished this record is I bought that Friedman 130 Shirley amp because I was like, I just played a ton of guitar. I'm so sick of myself. I need to do something different to inspire me, and I went out and got one of those, and I got really excited by it. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Now I just want to sit here and just hear the tube amp right in front of my face. Yeah.
Right, so some people might go out and buy themselves like a new TV after a record or something like that.
Yeah.
You bought a new piece of
I
sound
was like,
gear.
I gotta kind of, I don't want to get complacent or anything like that. I don't want to not want to play my guitar. I have fun playing guitar, and again, the stuff that I'm playing and working on by myself, maybe no one will ever hear.
Right.
Like trying to play over changes, trying to just kind of wrap my mind around the modes of the melodic minor and all that stuff, So
Brendon, let me ask you this. I love asking people this question. I've never asked it to someone who has so many jobs. I don't want to say jobs, but so many career paths. But if music just hadn't have been the thing, if writing hadn't have worked out, if everything had fallen away and you had said, you know what, I have to do some other thing. If entertainment just hadn't worked out, where do you think you'd be either career-wise or in your life? What else would you be doing?
Forensic pathology.
Really?
I don't know. Not really.
I was
too
gonna
much
say,
studying.
You had that so ready. I thought someone had asked you this before.
I think that is a cool job, solving cold cases and murders and all that stuff from years before. I think that's a really amazing job, and the scientists.
I feel like somebody like you would do it more like Batman, though. I feel like you would run around in the dark of night.
Yeah, I'd be a billionaire guy in a cape.
So had the entertainment industry not worked out, you would be a billionaire.
Yeah, I would just be a billionaire crime solver. Yeah. No, the other
amazing.
thing is what my brother does, because we're doing a lot of collaboration with this Galaktikon thing, but he works in special effects and makeup effects. So he builds things.
Right.
He makes really cool stuff from like movies, like Hellboy to like, whatever, Where the Wild Things Are and all this cool stuff. So he and I are working on stuff together where you're just building tactile cool things. Right now we're prepping for a music video. So we're building a bunch of robots and spaceships, and we're gonna shoot it like a 1970s Corman film.
That sounds amazing.
So like a Dino De Laurentiis kind of a film, or John Borman or something like that. So that's the idea, is to try to make a whole practical effects video that looks really cool and somewhat period. I mean, it'll probably change as we do it, but building all that stuff, building model spaceships so we can shoot like on a green screen and have cool, weird outer spacey backgrounds and really try to make it look as cool as possible. That's a fun job. I think my brother's got one of the coolest jobs.
It just sounds like you were destined to be in this field somehow. If none of this had worked out, you would have done something. You would have done what you just said.
Yeah, maybe.
You would have found an avenue.
Well, there's something that I thought was kind of, I started realizing this somewhere along the way in guitar, is that people that are really good at guitar, they're not actually wizards. They're not actually from another planet. They're humans just like us.
Right.
The thing that we have in common is we actually have all the same, or sometimes they don't. Django Reinhardt had like all these fingers fused together. Right. But most of us have hands and a place like a lap.
Yeah.
And so we can, if we put the time in and if we think through it the right way, then we might be able to do something with this instrument. And if had Metalocalypse never happened, and had I not become a guy who recorded and played guitar and designed guitars, I would have been very, very fulfilled sitting over my guitar with a cup of coffee in the morning with YouTube, trying to learn some cool licks, or trying to just become a better player, because all we're trying to do is evolve,
Sure.
So yeah.
Nice.
I may not have been known, but I would have done stupid creative stuff in between having a Joe job, whatever it is.
So I'm just curious, for those of your die-hard fans that are just like, I just want to be like Brendon, I want to live his life, I want to be that guy. I mean, is there any practical advice to help get them to that place?
First of all, you don't want to be like me.
No?
No, it's I get to do some really fun stuff.
Just talking to you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's nice of you.
Yeah, I get paid to be here.
I think with guitar, have a goal, and you know what I used to do?
Great advice.
But yeah, have a goal, have a thing. Put yourself in a position where you have to deliver. Stand up. When I decided to do stand up the first time, I put it on the calendar. The club owner in Boston, at the third floor of a Chinese restaurant, he said, "Okay, in 1 month you're doing stand up on this day."
Nice.
So put yourself in a position where you have to deliver.
Right.
Same with writing music. Go to a coffee shop. Go to an open mic. Put yourself in a position where you have to have a song completed. Finish a project.
Yeah.
If you have a cool riff, keep writing. Don't stop. Go through all the turmoil. It's not always fun. Sometimes you're banging your head against the wall and you're like, I don't know if any of these ideas are good.
Right.
But try to complete a project, and the way I do it is I put myself on the spot publicly. and I will fail and fail and fail and fail. And I have embarrassed myself in front of audiences in New York, Brooklyn, Chicago, all across the United States, where I'll put myself in a position of complete and abject failure, and sometimes getting my ass kicked really hard in front of a group of people is the inspiration that I need. Wow. That's the first thing I failed really hard when I was 15 years old in a guitar competition, and I had the option at the end to quit guitar, which felt like the right move to make because I got so nervous I couldn't play. I said, okay, this is the worst failure of my life. Up to this point, I'm 15 years old. This has got to be as terrible as it's going to be, as far as like just being embarrassed. And I sat above my guitar and I looked at my hands and I looked at the guitar and I thought, this is the call to put this on the bed and just leave it there. I should just quit. Or let me see, is there any upshot here? Ask yourself during failure, what is the good part that came out of any failed experience?
Right.
I embarrassed myself. Yeah, that's not good. Well, up to, honestly, I practiced really hard for this, and I practiced so hard in the 2 weeks up to this guitar competition that I failed at. But I noticed when I'm calm, when I'm relaxed, when I'm comfortable in my own skin, I can play the guitar.
Right.
I know how to do it. I'll have to wrestle with this stage fright thing for a while, but I'll figure it out.
Right.
But in these 2 weeks, I was so smart about practicing that I advanced like a month's worth in a shorter amount of time.
Right.
If I can do that for a year, I'm gonna probably get pretty good at this thing.
Sure.
If I keep this regimen up, wake up really early, take a nap after school, practice, and then practice as late as I can, deprive myself of sleep, and it's not a problem if you care about it.
Right.
You're not tired if you think you're making progress.
Right.
If I can
the
do
adrenaline
this,
takes over.
So yeah, I will not give myself the option to quit today. I'll look at this again this day next year and see how I feel. Don't make an angry decision about your creativity. Don't make any angry decision about anything.
That's great advice.
Anytime you have an opportunity to, if you're upset about something, just say, give me 24 hours.
Right.
I'm not going to make it. Don't write it. Don't send the angry email.
Yeah.
Compose it. Don't put an address in there.
Yeah.
Don't send it. Think about it. Realize that anger doesn't really help anything.
Yeah.
And even self-anger at yourself. So that's it.
Great
Have
advice.
a goal. Don't.
Great advice.
Have a goal. Fail as often as possible, because every single success story is fraught with just so many failures that never end up on the timeline. It doesn't matter. You may, again, I've eaten so much shit in stand-up trying to get good. I mean, I remember I did a show. I hadn't done stand-up in so long. I did a show in Brooklyn. I embarrassed like 250 people. I went on for like 25 minutes, and they were just averting their eyes afterwards, and it was just the most humiliating thing. and I realized, I was like, I got to get back into this, and I got to learn how to do this. And this failure this horrible feeling, I'm going to erase this by doing great.
Right.
And no one's going to care. And you know what? Screw them if they do. What are they going to do? Think about you all day long? They should be thinking about themselves.
That's just good PR.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Fail. Have a goal. Put yourself in a position of potential failure.
Right.
So a lot of people will just avoid that because they don't want to feel weird. And then don't make an angry decision.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so cool to hear you say this stuff, because I like to pull quotes from different successful people and compare them to others. And I know John Mayer said to have a metric of success that you think is it before you go into it, because if you go in with no goal, you'll never be satisfied. You'll never feel successful unless you said, I want to sell 5,000 records.
Right.
That's my success story.
Sure, yeah.
And then Hans Zimmer said, you just need to write every day, because even if it's not good, you'll build that muscle. And that's similar to what you said. Have a goal, write every day.
That's how I started getting into comedy. I said, how can I apply what got me good at guitar to comedy? So I'm going to write every day. I'm going to spend 2 hours, instead of 2 hours practicing, I'm going to spend 2 hours of just writing. Getting guy one, guy two start talking to each other. Let's see where this goes. Just stupid stuff like exercises, But that's great. All that stuff is great. I feel like I had one more thought. I'm trying to think what it was. Maybe you do this, but I used to read people who I viewed as successful. I would read their biographies all the time.
Yeah.
So people would see that I just had biographies from the Marx Brothers to like Woody Allen to like Seinfeld to whatever it was. I had Miles Davis to Jaco Pastorius to all these things. Yeah. Anyway, and it's those first like 4 chapters where you see the trajectory of like from a person who's thoughtful to to someone who's starting to kind of have a name.
Well, this interview is about you. It's certainly not about me, but you said maybe you do this. So I will just say that one of my mentors actually said that books are the hidden gems. Not a lot of people like to read, but they're full of so much good information. I actually started out selling guitars just as a sales associate in one of our stores. Started reading books, started educating myself, and within about 2.5, 3 years, I'm sitting here talking to you, having this interview. So it's
pinnacle
huge.
of success. You've
Read
made it
some
to
books.
me.
Yeah, I made it to Brendon Small, and if nothing else ever happens, I'm pretty well satisfied.
Remember, we all must fail.
Yeah. This is my embarrassing 15-year-old story. I had that interview with Brendon. Life just seemed short or small.
Nice. Finally, a good joke.
There we go. Someone in the comments of one of your Gibson interviews said, you guys really missed the opportunity. You should have called it Small Talk. So I think I'm going to steal his stuff, because great artists steal, and we're going to call this segment Small Talk.
And of course, you'll have to edit this part out so no one knows where it came from. We'll send him a t-shirt. All right, set up a t-shirt.
All right. Well, Brendon, what's next for you? What do we have to look forward to? We'll go ahead and finish on a big Brendon Small note.
I know. Well,
and where can we keep up with you? Give us that, too.
You can keep up with me at... well, for Twitter, it's @_Brendon Small, because someone took my name, maybe a home movies fan. Or Instagram @Brendon Small. You can follow everything in Galaktikon.com and the Galaktikon Instagram too, which will probably give more news updates than my site will. Come to my site if you want to see pictures of guitars and dogs.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
everyone in the room just went like,
everyone's like, I'm watching cool dog. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. I'll check that out.
So that's how Galaktikon.com @_Brendon Small. I'm about to knock this over and buy myself another brand new guitar. So check out the social medias. Check out Galaktikon.com. That's where you can pre-order Galaktikon II.
Right, coming out August 25th. Definitely want to plug that. The new record, new comic books.
All kinds of stuff. And when any of my other projects that I can't talk about yet land, you'll hear about it from one of those sources.
Right. Forbidden Planet is tonight, which by now it'll be done. So hopefully you went down there to check out Brendon.
It was nice to meet you.
Yeah. But we can't thank you enough for coming.
Thanks
Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it.
Fun.
It was awesome. Thanks for taking the time. Once again, I'm Dave Stutts. This is Brendon Small, and we'll see you next time right here on The Spotlight.